Hello, hello. Happy Sunday evening from here as I come in for our collective week ahead card pulls. So wherever you are and whenever you catch this, I hope you're well. Busy weekend over here, full on, and all the best ideas and intentions getting caught up in my responsibilities and need for better structure, which is perfectly timed. If I got one thing right, today, Saturn retrograde began. So we're going to talk about that in a bit, about the astrological weather that we've been navigating. I'm going to go back to the end of last week, talk about the here and now, and some other things to expect as we move deeper into this last week of Cancer season, last full week of Cancer season. So we're gearing up for Leo season soon enough, and perhaps some of my ideas and intentions that couldn't work out this week are meant for another date, but just kind of sharing here in the Empowerment Sharecast that I was hoping to dabble in maybe moving our week ahead card pulls, this part, over to Instagram as an IG live, where I may actually get to interact with some of you out there live, as well as kind of get a little more visibility in terms of what we have going on here, and then bring it in here as always for the card pulls. Now, the video that I would record live on Instagram, I will also share here and on my Grow in the Flow Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. So really nothing would change here internally, but just kind of be creating some momentum outside of here to step out, and this is something that I'm increasingly feeling called to do myself. And I suspect many of you may be in your own way as well, because of these cosmic waves that we are moving through here at this time, and how we may be getting called to step into some more authentic spaces, and, maybe even out of comfort zone and into some new things. But anyway, we can talk more about that later, because it didn't work out. I recorded something and I was going to post it, and then I found out that, my son's baseball game was 2 hours earlier than planned, and all the things, y'all, all the things of life and motherhood and all of the expectations and responsibilities. So it didn't happen today, and that is okay. So we're here now. And we're going to tune in to this week's collective energy. And I thought I would start with our Wisdom of the Ocean card, since this is our last full week of Cancer season, and go with that dive deep, watery, beautiful energy we've been getting from there. And I think I'm going to tuck our moon spray back now, because this is where I did the full moon in Capricorn reading from last Thursday. And I'm going to talk about that in the upcoming energetic weather. So let me feel into, what spray do I want? I'm going to go with Bob Marley for One Love, but don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. And another Bob Marley song that's been stuck in my head is Stir It Up, because that is something that I said on Stars and Cards with my soul sis, Moonlight Soul, when we were tuning into the energies at the end of June for July, and tapping into some of this stirring it up energy, things being stirred up. And then since then, I've encountered numerous different examples of exactly how that energy is showing up here through last week's full moon, through just the Five of Wands coming up on repeat in a number of different readings, which is all about stirring up those energies and the fire. And in some cases, whether it's competitive energies, argumentative energies, or just things being poked and prodded and brought up to the surface in all the ways. And since this is a collective reading, that varies widely between the world stage and in our microcosms, everything in between. So as we're navigating all of those emotional waters and, the way in which the stirring up is bringing up things from the bottom that need to come up, we're here in this space where we can apply this lens of empowerment, where we're tuning in here to these cards as a tool, tapping into the energy for this week ahead with our collective energy to see what's coming in, how we may be experiencing some of these things, and how we're best advised by our wise, higher selves on how to navigate them with as much grace and ease as we can to be in greater flow. So let's see what's coming up here with the Whispers of the Ocean to set the tone for our week, and reflecting on Cancer season and all of these energies, preparing for Leo season. Let's see what comes forward. This one here. Love where you are. Yeah. So this card is talking about using your sensitivity to know when to act. Connect to your heart to your head when determining what you would like. Yeah, so this is perfect because we're going to be ever, more encouraged to do just that, connecting heart and head. We're in the feels, we're in the emotions of this watery Cancer season. Leo also in the heart and loving big and going big and bold and shining, but also bringing in these other aspects like that full moon in Capricorn. And as I'm going to be talking about here in a few moments, the Saturn retrograde and why it's important to know about these significant energies as Saturn is in Aries, and what does that mean, and in what ways is the head and the heart being invited to be connected in a way that's more balanced, that can be healing and harmonizing in the energies that we are navigating. And also, like I said, whether we're feeling varying degrees of any emotion, whether it is frustration, like I'm bringing that energy to the table when I was saying, I wanted to do this, but wasn't in the cards, didn't happen for me. So now I had to do something else and I'm not doing this. Love where you are, right? Love where you are, not in a way that's glossing over or bypassing your feelings, because it's okay to be frustrated or disappointed about something not working out the way that you would like it to, or when you want it to, and all those things. It's how we navigate that that's really important. So we'll see what this card has to say to start off our messages when we get into that portion. For now, I'm going to shuffle up our Astral Mermaid Tarot that we have been diving into all month and continue into this next week with 5 cards to represent our week ahead. So we give intention to each day of the week, Monday through Friday, but of course time is not linear, so these energies could show up throughout the week in any order, and they're working together and weaving a story where you're invited to take what resonates and leave the rest. It's how it works with a collective reading. If you leave it there, there's always someone there to pick it up. And I love to hear from each of you about the wild ways that these energies come forward for each of us. It's really uncanny. So let's see what's coming up for us here, starting with Monday to set the tone for the week. Be here now. We're really getting this at this energy of time, which, Saturn is the 3rd planet to station retrograde this month. So it is kind of creating a slowing down and a going back over. So like sands through the hourglass, I'm getting, and I'm quoting Days of Our Lives soap opera, if you're familiar. These are the days of our lives. Sands through the hourglass. The wheel turns. To everything there is a time and a season, and we're talking about moving from Cancer season to Leo season. We're talking about, being here now in the month of July, but then also looking at 2025 and, all the different wheels within wheels, I like to say, and the different seasons. So this is a major card. That's a major arcana card, significant energy 10, which is beginnings that come on the other side of endings. So we have cycles that we're moving through. The one energy, 1 + 0, is a new beginning, but also a culmination of one chapter into the next. So now Tuesday is going to represent a potential block or challenge this week. In what way may we be challenged this week? Last week we had justice, which was significant. And I can think of several ways that showed up for me personally and for others that I connected with throughout the week. And hey, I can even take it out onto the world stage and see how that justice card has been playing. And here we are, Saturn in retrograde, which is Saturn is the Lord of Karma. So very interesting because the judgment card the justice card, if I misspoke. Justice card is bringing that as well. So let's see what's coming in for Tuesday's potential blocker challenge this week. Ooh, Queen of Air, the Queen of Swords coming in here with a little no nonsense, cutting through clarity, truth, but also can sometimes be harsh and double-edged and a little bit cold and a little bit sterile. So we'll see, what that's about. But I think communication, the way that we're speaking and the way that we're spoken to, and those types of things are coming into the spotlight because, as I will be sharing, the next planet to be going retrograde this month is Mercury. So once Mercury stations retrograde, that is exactly the area that is impacted. And we are in that pre-shadow now. So for sure, I can see where there could be some challenges happening in that arena. So next, we are going to see Wednesday, a midweek blessing. Midweek blessing coming in for Wednesday. Justice. Okay, so we did this last month where we were just rotating down the line each week and we were getting repeat cards, multiple weeks. We had repeat cards. Here it is. I just referenced this card coming up last week as our blocker challenge. Now it's a blessing. So these karmic scales that are being balanced, these truths that are coming to light, these ways, this evidence that's being brought out on the table for us to examine and render judgments. I misspoke earlier, but I know what I mean. Judgments in the name of justice. Okay. So again, big collective feels here. Also 10, 11. So major arcana card 10, major arcana card 11. In the middle, the Queen of Air as a potential blocker challenge, communication, and really capturing the spirit of that air element and the sword's suit, truth, and cutting through the BS. So yeah, I mean, it's getting hot in here. All right, let's see. Thursday is how we are growing. So how are we growing? How have we grown through Cancer season thus far? And in this last full week of Cancer season, how we may be growing. What do we have to know around that? What is it all serving? 7 of Fire, 7 of Wands. So this card came up too. Anytime I'm like in the week that I just did a whole bunch of personal readings for people for their month ahead energies, it's hard to remember, exactly where we saw each of these cards. I saw this card. I'm pretty sure we had this card out here for the collective as well. 7 of Wands. So again, being on the offense in terms of, needing to create better boundaries and parameters around our energy, our creativity, our fire, all the things. So maybe getting a little better about learning about doing that and why it's important, and that's, growth and expansion that's happening there. So we will take a look at that. And now finally, Friday is coming in with wrapping up the week, putting a little punctuation on the tarot messages. I think I'm going to pull one more card from an awesome oracle deck I just received last week that I used in the full moon in Capricorn reading. And I'd love to see what's going to come up for us here tonight. So I'm going to use that as well. But let's get our last Astral Mermaid card for Friday. There it is. 7 again. 7 of Water, 7 of Cups. Very Neptunian energy here. And of course, we have Neptune in retrograde as well, bringing on a lot of water on this planet, a lot of water events, a lot of things around flooding, and also, of course, dreams and dream states and illusions and truth versus illusion. I mean, so much. It's been like the most poster childy time for me in terms of drawing those parallels to the cosmic energy, the cards that are coming up, my personal experiences, what I'm hearing from many of you, and just seeing how textbook it all is. I mean, really, and what I try to say about that, because this can bring a bit of disillusionment, because there's all these choices, there's all these potentialities, and we can see that's beautifully depicted here by different color clusters of bubbles that she can potentially choose from and grab onto, but without possibly knowing, exactly what that entails. And so there can be a need for, really tapping into your own inner wisdom and trust in where you are. And that's where I think, again, we're tying in with this message as well, between heart and head, and also gut. Very important to bring that in. And I think that is also a component of Leo season coming in hot, is about, that inner fire, that gut instinct, and taming that beast within, and that sense of self, I am, and being brave and courageous and shining and all the things. So really feeling that with this double 7 to finish our week. So interesting, 2 major arcana cards, 10 and 11, 2 sevens, fire and water. And we've got the Queen of Swords here to stir it all up, cut through. So very interesting week ahead to dive into for sure. Let's just finish it off with this awesome new oracle deck from Ari Weisner, Find Your Own Way Oracle. Super colorful. It's so fun. I'll just give you a quick peek. And I'm going to pull one card for us. This is the beautiful card that came up in the full moon reading. Carve your own course. Beautiful. All right, so let's get one card here for us just to kind of finish off the messages, give us a parting thought, and then we'll tune into that when we come on in for the card messages. Next, I'm going to be getting into some of this energetic weather, just a few things to talk about, which I've pretty much let out of the bag here. So let's see what's coming up here to finish off the week. One card, please. There we go. Yeah. All right. Well, we're still here. We're still carving away. I love that. That's awesome. Be water. We're carving through those boulders and rocks in the way and finding our path and growing in the flow. So pretty cool. We'll check that out together here with these messages coming up in a bit. So I will say, if you would like a personal card pull this week to go along with these collective messages, feel free to let me know. You can quick reply to this message if you're seeing it on the Empowerment Sharecast on Marco Polo, or if you're seeing it in one of my social media spaces, you can comment below, reach out, DM, shout, whatever works for you. And I will be in this week to record a personal card pull for you along with these energies. All right, let's take a look and check out some of this energetic weather. All right, let's come in here for some energetic weather here. And like I said, we're going to do a little bit of past, present, future with these 3 aspects I want to talk about. First, reflecting back to the past from whence we came. Just last week, Thursday, July 10th, we had that full moon in Capricorn. So I shared this in the energetic weather last week, but I really want to tie it together for you. Like I shared in the card pulls, some of the things that are coming up for me, real life examples, and then, seeing here how this was absolutely a full moon that was bringing hard work, discipline, and responsibility. So, that can all sound a little but this was a full moon that was encouraging us to get our lives in order. So we're going to hear these buzzwords like responsibility, maturity, discipline, boundaries, order. So, coming through this energy and riding out those waves now, we may have been feeling in these last several days and continued even now to be faced with some hard decisions. But, keeping focused on the practical side of things can help. And that's where I've been trying to put my focus as well. In general, full moons can be highly emotional. We're in Cancer season as well. So things can rise to the surface, things become illuminated from the shadows. But here with a Capricorn full moon that we've just come through, it's asked us to see things in a more black and white manner, which again, it's just so interesting to have justice on the board again this week, to have the Queen of Air now here. And last week we ended with the Emperor, which is, an Aries energy as well. So as I'm about to talk about some of these things that are happening now, it's just really connecting with those cards, the energies that have been coming up, and then of course here with the cosmic energies as well. So, Capricorn, which rules over Saturn, and now Saturn was set to be going retrograde in the days following the full moon. And indeed, today was that day. As I'm recording this, Sunday, July 13th. So I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But here's where this overlap happens, where it was highly influenced by Saturn going retrograde now, where we could very well be feeling our Saturnian lessons rising up to challenge us, right? So this is what I'm experiencing, as I explained, and then Saturn, which, can get sort of a negative rap in astrology because it is called the Lord of Karma and brings forward those tough love lessons that can be hard, right? I don't want to. It's not what I want. It's not what I was prepared for, what I was planning on, all the things. But the other side of that is it also brings karmic rewards. So these more difficult, unpleasant, uncomfortable, less preferred things having to come up to the surface where we have to take responsibility and ownership for the role that we play in those things. And, where we are on the authenticity scale in terms of, being truthful and bringing that forward, that once we get that into balance, this is where those karmic rewards come in. So that's all in progress now. That's all in flux. And now here we are, Saturn now being retrograde, and specifically the sign of Aries, which is for the first time in nearly 100 years that these two energies were together. So, Saturn retrograde brings forward a time to do a life review where we're asked to look at, do you like where you're heading? If the answer is no, then this is your chance to really, make plans and take steps to change course. Because Saturn wants us to step up and take responsibility, there's that buzzword again, for our lives and the direction that they're moving in. So while it's in retrograde now, this is going to bring a perfect time to go over and review what it is that we want to change and what we no longer wish to tolerate in our lives. So now Saturn retrograde, as I mentioned, also tends to highlight where we need to set some boundaries with ourselves and others. So again, not surprised at all to see that 7 of fire showing up this week for how we're growing. But that's the best place to be, right? Because we're stepping into it. Now, growth does come with some growing pains, right? So again, may not always be the most comfortable, especially to make some of those hard decisions. So especially to accept some of those tough love lessons. But we'll see, as we step into this here, Saturn retrograde is going to be sticking with us through, I believe, November. So it's here, for a good portion of the rest of the year for us to be moving through. So I'm sure we will touch on this again. Now, the last aspect that I want to talk about is perhaps a better, more well-known Mercury retrograde. So coming up on the other end in the future, in just a few days, Friday to be specific, July 18th, Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. And that's actually the third planet. I said Saturn was the third. It's the second because we had Neptune retrograde and we have Saturn retrograde. Next up, we have Mercury retrograde. And then we're going to have Chiron retrograde as well this month. So, again, all bringing in this frequency of stopping, slowing down, and going over. Here, it's in the energy through the lens of Leo. So with Mercury, now the third planet to go retrograde this month, and most likely, it is one of the more potent retrogrades that we can experience, but this one's not going to last for long. It ends a few weeks later on August 11th, and Mercury retrograde presents us with a time to really listen to our inner world and clear those noises and opinions of others. Mercury rules the mind, our thoughts, also communications, among many other things, because, we're quite familiar with Mercury retrograde and the notion of like technical glitches and snafus and not signing contracts or buying new cars and all those kind of things, which are, just guidelines. Always, this is about being mindful, not fearful. These are natural rhythms of the universe that we move throughout the year. And so it's Mercury's turn again. And so here, it can sometimes be hard to listen to ourselves when we're being bombarded, relentlessly bombarded with stimuli from screens, the world around us, and of course, those that are in our orbit, those closest to us. So it's difficult, to get that quiet and to really tune in. But, again, I love how it all connects and we have this Whispers of the Ocean card coming in to kick us off here in a few moments. Love where you are and connecting heart and head. So we'll talk about that. So, with all these things coming into distract us, this is a good time for us to pause on that and really go within and figure out what it is that we wish to communicate and express to ourselves first and the world around us. And again, seeing that Queen of Air, Queen of Swords showing up this week, giving us a little wink about a potential block or challenge. So I think we get to decide what kind of challenge we want this to be. Because if we're challenging ourselves to be more mindful during this retrograde period in terms of our inner worlds, our inner thoughts and communications, and then our external world in our thought, in how we speak our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, and how we communicate. So we'll see about that too. So that's actually it. Otherwise, relatively quiet this week. Wanted to cover those. And now let's pull up that Whispers of the Ocean card to get us started. All right, card 24, love where you are. Bringing in this message to use your sensitivity to know when to act. Connect your heart to your head when determining what you would like. And, I mentioned in the card pull, I'm adding to this the gut, head, heart, and gut to have that big three connected and more in tune and flow. And as this is card 24, it's bringing the frequency of the number 6, 2 plus 4, 6, bringing in balance, healing, harmony in relationship. Your relationship with your head, your heart, your gut, and how all three are relating or not, right? So let's take a look at Whispers of the Ocean's guide here through the Oracle, and then tune in intuitively to see what's coming up to set us off this week. Contemplate your direction and trust what you are feeling. Being present in the moments when life is not ideal is not the easiest thing to do. It may feel frustrating to patiently wait for answers or process what has transpired. You may find you are consumed by past circumstances. You may be nervous about planning your next step. Tune into observations, awareness, and heightened senses so you may move with grace and style. You're invited to be in this moment. Allow your intuition to guide you while you wait your next step. You have faced challenging situations before. The urge to avoid what is happening is strong. You have the tools and the strength to face this head on. Use the depth of love that resides within you to face what is in front of you. Allow yourself to ground if you are feeling off balance. Be in this space and know you can move through this challenge. And this is giving us clams with a little background in connecting these whispers from the ocean. Clams live in the mud and have a strong connection to the earth. If you have disengaged from your feelings, tune back into them as they can guide you now. Clams can siphon water and extract what they need to feel rejuvenated. Use this time to get back on track. Circumstances may not be ideal, but a clam shows you to appreciate where you are, no matter how unappealing things may be at this moment. I like that, though, that analogy of, kind of siphoning through the water to extract what's needed and releasing the rest. I like to say, take the best and leave the rest. So when we talk about going back over the past, revisiting things, being in this time of retrograde, and this can certainly bring in people, places, things from the past, whether it be, in real life, physically coming back into the picture, emails, communications coming through, and also, memories coming to the surface, dreams, many different ways. It's very interesting. Like, I spent this whole weekend at a baseball tournament in the town where my grandparents lived, and it was kind of a neat, experience to be driving on those old familiar pathways. Even though so much about the landscape has changed, a lot is still the same, and brings back all that energy. I rode past their old house, talked to my kids about, and it sounded like a proper old lady pointing out the crowded, busy street corners that are filled with businesses and homes now that used to be just an empty field of wildflowers where we would pick a bouquet of flowers for my grandmom on walks with my pop-pop, all those things. So I've been doing that memory lane walk all weekend, kind of as we're building up all of this energy around retrograde and going back over and people and things coming back from the past and informing us what's coming in and siphoning out of that, the blessings, the awarenesses, the lessons, this Saturn and retrograde energy. So I'm really feeling this. I hope you are too, and perhaps whether it's in the best way or it's in a way that feels a little validating, because at least it's like, this hasn't been easy, or I haven't been feeling great and things have been really challenging. But I plug into this understanding that that's exactly what's in the energetic weather right now. And then that tells me to take solace in knowing that I'm right where things are meant to be. Be here now. And, love where you are. Okay, we can work on that one. We don't have to like the circumstances or, certain aspects. And yet there can be love in the understanding that whatever is meant for me in a given moment, the universe is being this loving teacher or guide. And there's this way for me to really tune into what it's showing me so that I can learn, grow, heal, and expand on soul level. And this is where we're going to start to get into some of these other cards, because it's going to kick right off with one of those cards for sure, with the Wheel of Fortune. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll just kind of fold right into that. But this was really a perfect card to set us off into our intuitive card messages. So let's take a look at Monday. All right. We are kicking off the week with Monday's energy to set the tone. And it is major. It's a significant card. 10, just about midway through the major arcana, is the Wheel of Fortune. The wheel turns. And, as I mentioned, in the card pull, like sands through the hourglass, these are the days of our lives, right? These are the seasons. The wheel turns into everything. There's a time and season. And we see that beautifully depicted here by these trees representing the 4 seasons, the elements, the phases of the moon. Really beautiful in how this is coming up here. And I always say about this card, wheels within wheels. And our altar cloth is kind of depicting that too, because we have these layers going on here that, of course, this one is beautiful, channeling, the beach, the ocean, the sand, the shore, the skies, the seagulls. So when you think about all of those things are happening all at the same time, all the time. So whether I'm at the beach and I'm aware of what's happening there, or I'm not, and I wish I was, it's still happening, right? The ocean is coming, the tides are rising and falling and ebbing and flowing, and the seagulls are flying overhead and all the things, and the seashells are washing up. And it's just, symbolic, as nature speaks, of, just because I'm not on a particular wheel doesn't mean it's not happening, right? Or that I can't tune into a particular frequency. So it's an interesting little analogy that's popping in here for us to kick it off. But, really feeling into, like I mentioned, this is the last full week of Cancer season. We're poised for welcoming in Leo season on the other side of this week. And so seasonally, yes, we are talking about the wheel turning and that energy shifting, among other things. But it's giving us this opportunity to tune into time as we understand it too. Because when we come into the astral mermaid guidance, it's saying, even though time is an illusion, there is still this sense of a race against time, or that time is running out, or that time is not on your side, or that time in and of itself has the ability to make certain choices for you. And maybe that's true, right? If I allow time to pass and I do nothing or make no choice, then the time in and of itself will make a choice, right? Because time may expire, time lapses. I left something in my Amazon cart and the deal is over. So I guess I made my choice. I never checked out. So, all of these different ways that we can perceive of time. But one thing is certain, and that is the only thing that can be controlled is you by you. So we can't change the hands of time, right? We can't speed it up. We can't slow it down, in the sense of, linear time. But we do have a sense of controlling ourselves in those situations and our perspectives and perceptions. So tuning into this week, this card is asking, which way is the right way. Feel from within which direction is best for you. Keep in mind that every choice has a consequence, negative and positive. There is always a calm before the storm and a calm after the storm. Everything is about perspective and how you view what is happening around you. Like that's giving me a little, this too shall pass. You know, there's a storm. In front of the storm, it was calm. And on the other side of the storm, it will also be calm, right? So, this is not the first card that's going to talk to us about choice, because actually we're bookmarked in choices, because we also have the 7 of Cups on the other end, also about choices and choosing wisely. So interesting that that's coming up. And I feel very much under the Saturnian influence here of choosing wisely your time, right? Your time, your attention, your energy, your focus, your talent. You know, these are the things that are coming up to look at. How are you investing your time? And is it something that you even want, right? So everything is about perspective and how you view what is happening around you. So be grateful when things are going well and look forward to better times ahead when things are not going so well. Are you feeling your own anxiety, creating a different realm of existence for yourself? Plan your journey accordingly. Look to the past to find your way forward. Knowledge is essential for moving in the direction linked to your highest good. All paths lead to the same outcome, but it is up to you whether your journey is short or long. Changes are happening now, whether you like it or not. Now that's interesting because last month, June, our channeled words were all rays lead to rising. So whatever frequency, whatever fraction of light or shadow that you're on in a particular moment, they're all ultimately leading to your rising. It's just a matter of how long, the time that it takes you to get there, but also, you know, the experiences that you will have between here and there. So, you know, sometimes certain timelines are out of our control, right? It feels as though those choices are made for us or that our choices are few. All of it is linked into your greatest good. Spirit is present in this moment is another message of this card. So again, 2 major arcana cards this week lock us into some significant energies that we are in right now with real opportunities to affect great change, not only in our lives, but in our collective lives, in the lives of humanity. So big things. And each of these major arcana cards here with the Astral Mermaid include a neutrality prompt. So I want to tune into that here, especially since we have 2 majors and they're, you know, right in a row, number 10 and 11. So for this card 10, the wheel, the neutrality prompt, not everything is going to go your way. Not everything is going to go to plan. You are not always going to get what you want. Everything from the way you conduct yourself to the way that you say or think things all comes into play when the wheel goes round. When this happens, this is a great time to find neutrality. What will life look like if you do not get what you want, opposed to what you do want? Can you think of all the things from your past that occurred that may have sabotaged the outcome or created the best outcome? What lessons were learned? So this is definitely a card that's tapping into the retrograde rays, right? Because we're in this frequency of the past coming back up to inform us, and we're best suited to go with it, right? Get into flow, because this is where the energies are at. So let the past inform you. Take the best, leave the rest. Give yourself an opportunity to do something new or in a new way, especially if we're really coming around again as the wheel turns, that this same old loop that we've been on and replicating for so long isn't working, is no longer delivering the results that are acceptable, desired, or needed moving forward. So big message to start us off. Let's take a look at this queen coming in to turn that sword as a potential blocker challenge this week. All right, Tuesday's potential blocker challenge this week is the Queen of Air, the Queen of Swords. And this is an interesting placement. As I mentioned, we have a lot of the other elements represented here with the fire and the water, the air here coming in, and this sense of our thoughts, our ideas, our communications. But this Queen of Air really being about that double-edged, sword, or this notion of something coming in that's kind of sharp, cold, clinical. And how when we get court cards, traditionally, this queen represents you or someone in your orbit, actual people who could be coming around or, in the mix, or aspects that we may be challenged to embody. So if the Queen of Air in balance is about speaking the truth, not getting overly emotional or pulled down into anything, but just kind of staying steady, speaking her truth, cutting through, being authentic and direct and unemotional, but not cold, not callous, etc., then it could be a challenge for us to get there, because it can be hard to speak our truth or to say a hard thing. And so that's one way that it can show up, where we could be challenged, but best suited to embody some of that Queen of Air energy. But also, this could be a person or a situation that we're navigating that's actually pretty, sharp and tricky in that regard. So let's tune in here to the Astral Mermaid. The Queen of Air, when she's in balance, she loves the truth. That's it. I love the truth. And so it's speaking to being unafraid to speak up and state your truth and be heard, and without the influence of emotions. But now if we're talking about it being a challenge, as if it's reversed, then we're saying it's a time to reconnect to your inner being and strength. Your emotions are distorting your perception and clouding your judgment. You may be taking a step back as to not rock the boat in certain situations or relationships. Your clarity and truth is needed to move things forward. On the other hand, are you being seen as heartless, narrow-minded, and mean? Grounding is needed to gain more clarity and create positive change. So you see, this can be different for everyone, how it shows up. But there's two scenarios, both in need of some balancing there that were just presented. One, you need to have an opportunity to reconnect to your inner being and strength. So again, go within, right? This is a big one for many people right now. The retrogrades are speaking. And, recognizing that maybe an abundance of emotions, out of balance emotions, are distorting your perception and clouding your judgment. So you can't see clearly or choose clearly because there is an overabundance of emotion. Then on the other side, we have a severe lack of emotions because there's this sense of being, seen anyway as being heartless, narrow-minded, and mean. So again, this is where finding that middle ground can best suit us, finding that balance point, which again, justice coming right up, which really is bringing more of that, calibrating those scales and finding that sweet spot, which is the midweek blessing. So again, I'm not real worried or, worked up about her. I just feel like, that knife can be sharp and it can cut. And also this is our own thoughts, our own mind, our own communicating with ourself and how we're talking to ourself as the first place for us to look at for any rough edges or for any watery ways that are mucking up and clouding up our ability to make clear choices. So wherever you're finding yourself on that spectrum, and again, this can still be developing as we move through the week. But again, if you are in need of some personal guidance and would like a card pull, feel free to reach out and let me know if there's any particular area that you want to look at, and we can build on that, with this spread. Let's go ahead and bring that Justice card up now for Wednesday's energy. All right, Wednesday, we have a frequent flyer. Justice is back, just moved down one. So we already talked about this card last week when it was in Tuesday's position. And if you had to think way back to last week, in what way that you may have felt the justice energy coming forward for you in a way that was challenging or blocking you in some way. Remembering that this card can literally be legal issues and different things with courts and contracts and all kinds of legal matters in its most practical way. But, this one's beautifully depicting, the measuring of the heart versus the weight of a feather. And, this is bringing in more of that karmic focus, which now looking back, I think was very preparatory for today's, as I'm recording this on Sunday, Saturn in retrograde, the Lord of Karma and karmic lessons coming forward. So let's see this as above, so below, seeing through these eyes of justice that are coming in here with this card 11. So it says, and again, I did say this last week, I shared this, so I'm going to just pull from this in through the context of our midweek blessing. There is your truth, their truth, and the real truth, and the fates see it all. Nothing goes unnoticed. At the end of your days, your heart will be weighed against the weight of a feather. Be mindful and live every day as consciously as you can. So this is another card now that's going to say the same message that I just said over here, which is every choice that you make has a consequence, right? We started here with choice. We're ending here with choice in the middle. So this is really speaking to your sovereign ability to make choices from within with your free will as from this empowered place, and really weighing that up against, right? In this way of looking at the choices that you've made thus far, how are they weighing up? What it is that you would like to adjust and clear and create greater balance in your life. This is exactly what we're talking about. Like I said, the full moon in Capricorn, now the Saturn retrograde in Aries. I mean, so many consistencies, like I said. So, this midweek blessing, I think everything is, kind of coming up in a way. And this is where I was talking about evidence being presented, having an opportunity to weigh out, what's being presented and rendering some choice, judgment, assessment that we make through that process. And so I think the information is actually the blessing, while I also see that in the world, this noisy world, and we were talking about all of the distractions, we were talking about the screens and the news and all the things out there that would try to distract and derail and overwhelm and overload and all of the things that are well underway, which is in and of itself extremely overwhelming, and a whole host of other descriptive terms. But it's about, getting that bearing from within, coming into that own place and creating your sense of equilibrium here, and then weighing from the outside and determining, with the things that are coming up, how are they helping you to make clearer choices? So, that is something that we're continuing to move through here as a collective in sort of assessing all of this. And the time is coming, like we have this sense of the wheel turning, moving into these seasons of a need for greater clarity, truth, justice, karmic balancing, right? So big stuff. We've got 2 7s to finish us out here, which again, I'm loving all of these synchronicities and patterns as always. Let's take a look now at Thursday. All right, Thursday is bringing in how we are growing, and we have the 7 of Fire, the 7 of Wands coming up here, with following right through with this energy of calling in some boundaries and some protection from these outside forces. So the 7 of Fire, you are so ready for what's coming in, right? Nothing can bring you down. You're in the element of your own calming, meditative entrapment. Nothing can take you away from everything that you have worked so hard to create. You have been through the hardships and you know what you want. You're staying in your lane. You are cool, calm, and collective. 4D sharks be gone. So what it's saying is, whatever it is that you're creating in your life and where your focus is at this time, you can be unstoppable from these outer forces. there is some guidance coming in on how best to navigate those outside forces, right? So this is talking about being challenged and tested and asking, do you have the strength to keep going? Do you believe in what you are fighting for? In order to move further into who you really are, life will throw situations at you that will test you. Any setbacks that show up along the way are just tests. Is what you are working on what you really want? There it is again, right? This is what I said about the full moon in Capricorn, of what has just been illuminated for us, what's just been coming up to the surface through that full moon in Capricorn, is looking at those things. Is this what you really want? Do you want to continue to put your time and your energy and your focus into these things? And if not, then you make new choices, right? And so this is what is coming up for us. And here it is again. So it's saying that, as these tests are coming up, we have this opportunity to prove that, yes, this is what I really want, or, make a new choice and take a new direction boldly. So is this what you have created been produced with rock solid foundations, or will it crumble when times get tough? Overcome the hurdles that are put in front of you. Protect what you have created. So again, as things are being stirred up, shook up, is the foundation strong? Can it withstand these things, or is it crumbling because it needs to? And then as it crumbles, that we have an opportunity to make new choices and build something new in its place. So this is where a lot of people are coming into wanting to make changes in their jobs, in their relationships, in their homes, where they're living, how they're living, maybe with their diet and health and lifestyle. So many different things that are coming up where we're feeling that pull. And so all of these energies are working together to create this environment where we have this opportunity to go over those things. And, again, it sounds great. Create an environment. Well, nobody mentioned that it was shark-infested waters was the proper environment to encourage me to real quick get clear on where I have, holes in the foundation, right? So this is, again, circling back to that doesn't mean it's the most pleasant, right, set of circumstances that are showing up to make those perfect environment conditions, right? Because the perfect environment to poke and prod and trigger, may not be most preferred. So again, making a truce and finding a balance with all of that, which I feel are these three cards all working together here at the beginning of the week to bring us into this back end of these sevens, which is a very powerful spiritual number that's bringing us into greater alignment with our higher selves, with the cosmos, and all the things as we are going and growing, which is what this card was speaking to this week. Let's look at the other sister seven over here for Friday. All right, finally Friday over here, wrapping up the week from the tarot messages. We have one more oracle card to take a look at after this. The beautiful Seven of Water, the Seven of Cups coming on, bubbling up here, again, highlighting choice and choosing wisely. So as we take a look here at the Astral Mermaid, the Seven of Water is saying all these bubbles from out of nowhere, so many different colors. Ooh, look over there, those ones. Oh, but look at those ones. Which path do I take? I really like the path with the pink bubbles, but the yellow ones also look fun. This is so hard to choose. How do I choose? So yeah, like I was saying in the card polls, the Seven of Cups is really presenting all these choices, and the choice is yours, but you just may not be able to decide because you're seeing, things and they're appealing or they're grabbing of your attention in some way, but we really don't know what all they entail. We can't see the full, picture before having to make a choice, all those ways that the Seven of Waters can bubble up. And so it's saying to visualize what you want and search your heart space for the answer. Use your intuition to guide you towards the best choice for you. Align in harmony with why you are here. Follow the path that will take you towards your highest calling. Your soul knows the answer. But first, you must get clear on your best intentions. You have been prone to illusion and unrealistic ideas in the past, making decisions that have taken you in the opposite direction. Use visualization and affirmations to place you on the right path. Yeah, so again, choices may not always be what they seem. Picking the shiny thing isn't always the best path forward. So again, we're being invited to employ all of our tools in terms of head, heart, gut, and running it through that internal truth detector when we're making choices and feeling into whether it's something that's feeling aligned for us or not, but also reserving the right to know that if I choose a particular cluster of bubbles in this case, if I choose one over another only to find out that it's not exactly what I thought it would be, or it really isn't aligned, that's okay too, because there was something there for you to experience, even if it was just the contrast, to now be more clear on what you don't want, or what didn't work about that, or in what way you thought you were being honest and authentic when you chose that thing, but actually there were still some sneaky layers in there that weren't 100% authentic and truthful. So, however it's showing up, this is, and I mentioned in the card pulls too, how this is really playing on the Neptune retrograde as well. And even just like I said, from a totally practical, my friends and I were comparing over the weekend, like the crazy dreams we were having, or the active dreams that we were having. Like I was saying, it's just, dream states, and your imagination may be very busy. There just could be a lot going on there too. So we'll see how it all goes, but that is the final tarot card for our week. Let's take a look now at our final message coming from Find Your Own Way. All right, our final message this week is from the beautiful brand new Oracle deck, Find Your Own Way. And like I said, I've only pulled, I think, 2 or 3 cards from this deck so far, and twice it's been this card. This came up for the full moon in Capricorn, and now it just came up for our week ahead, which tells me that as much as I've been getting pulled to talk about Thursdays of last week's full moon in Capricorn, rightfully so, because we're absolutely moving through these energies now and being, compounded by the Saturn retrograde and other aspects that are incoming that are giving us this opportunity to get really clear about how we're navigating and where we're navigating to from here. So this one, chart your own course. The river offers profound wisdom for our life's journey, ever flowing, expanding, and cycling through earth, sea, and sky. It always returns to its source. Though calm and steady, a river teems with life and immense power, gradually shaping its pathways through the landscape. It occupies the space it needs with strength and independence, while harmonizing with the land and its natural obstacles. The river understands that nature is ever-changing, and it grows alongside the shifting environment. With your free will, you can carve your own course with strength and honor, navigate obstacles and flow with nature to grow and find peace. Balance your will with temperance, respecting the paths of others around you. And the affirmation says, "May I take up space, working with nature, not against it." Yeah, this is what we're saying about growing in the flow and growing through what you flow through, because the river is, moving in a direction that, again, looking at whether we like the direction it's going in, if this is the direction we wanted it to go in, at the speed that it's going there, et cetera, there's this opportunity for us to get into flow and carving our own pathways, being like water, which is more fluid, right? And more in tune. And in this case, we want to be like a crystal mountain spring, meaning the waters within us, which again, connecting into our heart and our emotions and our feels, the sense of clarity and purpose and high vibrational focus, right, of where we wish to go. And then we think about how the water finds a way when we talk about will, when we talk about determination, that the water finds a way. The rocks get in the way, right? These land masses have been carved out from the water, and so just beautiful symbolism coming here through nature speaking for opportunities for us to connect in from there. And again, I can't help but, like, as I'm looking over our cards here and back to that first oracle card that we were looking at from the Whispers of the Ocean, love where you are and now carve your own course. In the middle of all of that is the guidance that we just talked through the Astral Mermaid about opportunities for us to check in with creating greater balance, harmony, truth, clarity, justice through our passions, desires. This is the 7 of fire, the 7 of water, our choices. You know, all of these things are speaking to us if only we tune in, if only we allow ourselves to flow with these things and to allow them to inform us. And from that, we make our own free will choices from a more empowered place. So I hope that that's resonating for you and that you find these messages to be helpful this week. Once again, if you would like a personal card pull, please feel free to let me know and I'll keep you posted. It's my hope that it would be realistic for me to dip my toe into something new, to make a new choice, to be bold, to put myself out there where I could be recording these week ahead card pulls on Instagram Live or I'm putting it on Facebook, etc., so that we can invite more people to come on in for these in-depth messages and continue to build on the connections from there. So I'll keep you posted about that, but thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I hope you're well. Sending you much love and many blessings for this week ahead. We'll talk soon.